There's a mindset that you have that's probably slowing you down, making you doubt yourself and question your goals. And if you don't change it, it might actually ruin your entire life. If I were to use just one word to describe this mindset, it would be complacency. But I think it's best explained as when you settle for something when you know you can do better. And the key there is when you know you can do better. I'm going to tell you how I went from being incredibly disciplined, doing pretty much everything right and making crazy progress in all areas of my life, to falling into a period of laziness and weakness that just got worse and worse until I got to a point where I started to doubt my conviction that I was able to achieve my goals. All from getting complacent and settling for something, or in this case, someone, that I felt was below the level that I could get to. I'm obviously talking about an ex here, and I really want to try to be respectful because I genuinely have nothing but love for her. Whatever. But I don't want to say that dating her was a mistake because I genuinely learned a lot about myself and relationships by being with her. But just between the two of us, I always felt, I knew that I could get a better girl. One that was more attractive and more compatible, one that actually shared values with me and I didn't have to go through the constant struggle of arguing about our perspectives. I don't want to focus on the reasons why we weren't all that great together or why I felt I could have done better. I want to focus on the psychological repercussions that you will suffer if you settle for less than what you know you can achieve. When you settle, be it for a girl because you just feel lonely, or for a shitty job because you never took the chance on your business or the promotion, that kind of starts to sweep into your personality and you get complacent in all areas of your life. There's no doubt about this in my mind. I've gone through it enough times and I've talked to a lot of people about this. So here's what happened to me recently. I started dating this girl who was really pretty and had a great personality, but from the get-go, I knew she wasn't the type of girl I want to stay with. I still decided to get into a relationship with her. Perhaps because it was better than being alone. Perhaps because of a desperation to, make a real connection and love and feel loved. Maybe you can relate to that, but that's a whole nother subject. And I got really good at avoiding the thoughts of us not being compatible, or just the thought of getting someone that was a better match for me. But I wasn't able to avoid the damage that knowing that I settled and that I could have done better did to my mindset. And that, unavoidably, I think, made me start settling for less in all areas of my life. I stopped going to the gym. I started by just missing a few workouts, but then I stopped going altogether. I stopped having a diet. Again, it started by a few cheat meals, but it progressively got worse and worse to the point where I was basically eating out every day, and I wasn't tracking any calories or macros. And I started drinking too much, which has always been my biggest downfall when I get into a dark period of my life or when I become too complacent. I just started drinking way more than I should. And all these mistakes and setbacks don't come from being in a bad place or feeling bad. It's usually the opposite. You feel just good enough to where you stop feeling the need, not the want, but the need to improve. I want to end by referencing what's called the region beta paradox, and I'll be paraphrasing from the podcaster Chris Williamson. The concept basically goes like this. Say you have to get somewhere that's a mile or less. You'd walk there. But say you have to get somewhere that's further than that. Then you'd probably take the car. Paradoxically, you end up traveling 2 miles faster than you would the 1. This can be interpreted as a worse situation being better than a good situation, which becomes a real life problem when you stop making as much progress as you could, and you start to slowly walk instead of getting into the metaphorical car that would accelerate the speed of your progress. Because things aren't perfect, they're not great even, but through a complacent mindset, they're just good enough, just comfortable enough. Even though deep down you always knew you wanted more. So again, when you settle for whatever girl you can get right now, even though it's not really the person that you want to be with, or when you stay at that shitty job because the pay is decent and the boss isn't that much of a dick, even though you wanted to start your own business, you get stuck in the region beta, where you would actually be better off being in a worse situation because that would motivate you and push you towards improving yourself and changing your life for the better. So don't allow yourself to get stuck there. Don't be complacent. There's no point at looking at the view halfway up the mountain if that's going to get you to start going down and never allow you to reach the top, which was always your destination. A place where the view is so beautiful that you actually want to stay. I hope I made some sense.